Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our Tafseer class. We are doing the kitab known as Al-Jami'u li Ahkam al-Quran of Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, famously known as Tafsir Al-Qurtubi. We are doing volume number 22 in the Tafsir of Surah Al-Mutaffifin, and we are still finishing off the tafsir of the first 6 ayat of the surah. So without any delays, let's begin. Bismillahi walhamdulillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So as you can see, we are here currently on page 138 of volume number 22. We are continuing on from this point, Al-Rabi'ah, last paragraph before we begin the next batch of ayat. So continuing on, he says, Al-Rabi'ah, القيام لله رب العالمين سبحانه حقير بالإضافة إلى عظمته وحقه. After Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah mentioned certain points prior to this, he wants to bring another point. He says that standing in front of Allah, it's like it's not even something to mention because of the rank that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. But he says, فَأَمَّا قِيَامُ النَّاسِ بَعْضِهِمْ لِبَعْضٍ فَاخْتَلَفَ فِيهِ النَّاسِ. As far as it goes now, he's speaking from a fiqhi perspective, that standing up for another person. Then he says there's different opinions in regards to this. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَجَازَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ مَنَعَهُ. Amongst the ulama, there are those who permitted it, and there are those ulama who prohibited it. He says, وقد روي أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قام إلى جعفر بن أبي طالب واعتنقه، وقام طلحة لكعب بن مالك رضي الله عنهما يوم التيب عليه، وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم للأنصار حين طلع عليه سعد بن معاذ قوموا إلى سيدكم. So the first thing, Imam Al-Qurtubi quotes the proof of those who permitted it. So he says, it's narrated that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam stood up for Hadrat Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu and embraced him. Mu'anaqa, i'tanaqahu means mu'anaqa, to hug him. And Hadrat Talha ibn Ubaidillah radiyallahu anhu, Hadrat Ka'b ibn Malik, famous hadith, we did it in Riyadh al-Salihin, one of those fabulous ahadith, for lack of a better word, that there are so many lessons to be learned from it. Lengthy hadith, but nonetheless, when the ayah was finally revealed, and the ala thalathati alladhina khulifu, those 3 Sahaba radiyallahu anhum who hadn't taken part in the battle, after Allah now finally revealed the Tawbah, that Allah has forgiven them. Hadrat Talha radiyallahu anhu, when he heard this ayah, he got up. Hadrat Ka'b radiyallahu anhu was called to come and he was living on the outskirts now because he was boycotted and outcast from everyone because people couldn't greet him, couldn't speak to him, everything of the sort. So Hadrat Talha radiyallahu anhu got up to so as you could say now, to welcome him back. Allah has revealed your Allah has accepted your repentance, in other words. So Yawma Tiba alayhi, on the day that Allah had forgiven him, Hadrat Talha radiyallahu anhu stood up. So what it shows is that standing up for somebody is not a problem. Another incident, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told the Ansar when Hadrat Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu came along, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, stand up for your leader. So, 3 incidents from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in this regard. وقال أيضا من سره أن يتمثل له الناس قياما فليتبوأ مقاعده من النار. And in another hadith now, on the flip side of the coin, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, he who likes that the people should be standing for him, then let him prepare his abode in Jahannam. Now, Imam Al-Qurtubi himself explains it, so I'm not going to give too much on the point. He says, وَذَلِكَ يَرْجِعُ إِلَى حَالِ الرَّجُلِ وَنِيَّتِهِ فإن انتظر ذلك واعتقده لنفسه حقا فهو ممنوع وإن كان على طريق البشاشة والوصلة فإنه جائز وخاصة عند الأسباب كالقدوم من السفر ونحوه وقد مضى في آخر سورة يوسف شيء من هذا. He says that the whole issue can be summarized in this, which is it relates to the individual and what his intention is. So if a person, he looks forward to it, وَاعْتَقَدَهُ لِنَفْسِهِ حَقًّا, and he feels, it's my right, you must stand up for me. When I come in, everybody, you have it in today's world. In a kafir court of law, all rise, the judge is coming in. So people have this. If you sit there, you're in contempt of court. The judge automatically feel it's my right. I'm a judge. You have to stand up for me. People have it even in, unfortunately, when people take in from Jahiliyyah. So you're in a class and the ustad walks in. Now you stand up for the ustad. Everybody must stand up. If it is something that you do on your own without the teacher wanting it or anything, that's in its place. But when it becomes part of a system, you must all stand up when he comes in. This is part of Jahiliyyah. This is what is prohibited. So فهو ممنوع. In that case, it becomes prohibited. But وإن كان على طريق البشاشة والوصلة, if it is from the point of happiness, here you are, and let's say, for example, you in a madrasa, for example, and here you see your ustad coming in, you get up, you're happy, you go over, you hug him and think, no problem. You are, for example, you're sitting at home here, and you look up, and there's somebody walking in by the door, and it's like, it's your friend that you haven't seen in a while. You get up and you rush over. No problem with any of this. If you are a child in a house and your father comes in, for example, or your mother, whatever the case may be, your parent, when you go over and you stand up whenever they come in, no problem with that. So in simple terms, what is, he says, وخاصة عند الأسباب, especially when there's some reason behind it. He says, كالقدوم من السفر ونحوه, when somebody has come back from a journey, people have come back from Hajj, people have come back from they just come back from a holiday now, whatever the case may be. They've been studying for 5 years overseas or whatever. Now they're returning back, and all of these things, not limited to this, but you have an idea. Then for you to stand up, to welcome them, to hug them and things, no problem. What the Sharia simply just here is saying is that do not let it become such that it grows within a person arrogance, that I am a big shot. And big shot. What matters is in the court of Allah. And had you been a person of piety, you would not be deeming yourself to be a big shot in the first place. So anyhow, in simple terms, just to summarize it before we move on, if you are standing up for a person, like I say, your teacher, your parent, your family member, whoever you're espoused to, it's not an issue. When there is not this belief that you have a teacher or a person, it's like, he gives special treatment to this student rather than that one. Why? Because this one stands up for him and that one doesn't. Then it has already affected your heart. You have a corrupted intention because now you feel that he stands up and he doesn't. So this one is better than him. Because why? He honors me. He recognizes my worth. So that the Sharia is trying to prevent people from getting too big for their boots, to put it in our terms. So that's basically what it comes down to. And he says, but in any case, at the end of Surah Yusuf, he has touched on this point a little bit. But since we began from Surah An-Naba, we won't be, or at least we have not covered that in our tafsir here. So let us carry on. Now he moves on further to the next batch of ayat. He says, قوله تعالى كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين. So these are the next few ayat that we will be covering. Now, as is the norm, I'll try and give a somewhat of a verbatim translation for it. As you'll see from the tafsir, there's anything but a verbatim translation. But in any case, so kalla inna kitab al-fujjari lafi sijjeen. No, indeed, the record of the evil people is in the Sijjeen. Now, like I say, I'm trying to give somewhat of a verbatim translation. It's not 100% because you'll see from the tafsir perspective. But anyway, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا سِجِّينَ. And what will make you know what is the Sijjeen? كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ. It is a book which has been inscribed. وَيْلُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe on that day to the deniers, the rejectors. الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين. Those who rejected the day of resurrection and recompense, and the day of Qiyamah in simple terms. وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم. And nobody denies it except every evil, sinful, transgressing person is the one who rejects the day of Qiyamah. إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا, when you recite the verses, or when you recite when our verses are recited upon him, then he says, أساطير الأولين. It's the stories of old. Olden time stories, that's all it is. It's not factual, it's not reality. That's what the mushrikeen used to say. But anyway, let's move on now to the tafsir itself. قوله تعالى كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين. قال قوم من أهل العلم بالعربية كلا ردع وتنبيه، أي ليس الأمر على ما هم عليه من تطفيف الكيل والميزان أو تكذيب بالآخرة، فليرتدعوا عن ذلك، فهي كلمة ردع وزجر. ثم استأنف فقال إن كتاب الفجار. Okay, the first point he goes on here, he says, amongst some of the people of Ahlul Ilm, the ulama, they've stated in Arabic, the word kalla is a word of tanbih and raja. In other words, it is a word of, like rebuke when you're trying to, like draw a person's attention, get him to stop. So the word kalla is used in that context. So in other words, ليس الأمر على ما هم عليه. It's not like the way they think that they can, we can do whatever we want to, cut short on the scales and things of this, reject the year after, and you think it's all well and good. No, it's not. Kalla, it'll never be like that. So that's the one too. So فَلْيَرْتَدِعُوا. So kalla is coming in to say, stop this. Stop stealing on the scales and stop rejecting the year after. Because the result of it is كلا, ثم استأنف, then comes the istinaf, which is to basically that Allah now explains what are the problem of these people, and then says the kitab of these fujar lafi sijjeen. But there's a lot of difference with regards to this, so let's move on. He says وقال الحسن كلا بمعنى حقا. Now we have a second viewpoint which says kalla is another way of saying haqqa, which means verily. So verily the record of the fujar will be in the sijjeen. That's number one. وروى ناس عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما كلا قال ألا تصدقون فعلى هذا الوقف لرب العالمين. So some people narrated from Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma that he said kalla means ألا تصدقون. ألا تصدقون means won't you believe. So in other words, if we go back here, okay, it's going to go back a long way. Where are we now? Should be the next part coming up here soon. Okay, I can't exactly see it. But okay, anyway, long story short, what he was trying to point out over here is that, in other words, what he's saying is ألا تصدقون. So he says الوقف يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. So you stop at لرب العالمين. ألا تصدقون. When Allah says يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين, on the day when people will stand in front of Allah, the Lord of the worlds, then Allah says كلا. Now Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he says it means here ألا تصدقون, won't you believe? You are rejecting the resurrection and stuff. You are feeling that you're not going to be resurrected, so you can steal and rob on the scales and stuff. Won't you believe? It's like that. What is wrong with you? So al-waqfu li rabbil alameen, in order for this meaning to be given across to you. وفي تفسير مقاتل إن أعمال الفجار. Okay, so that's that. Now we're coming, what is the kitab spoken of? Inna kitab al-fujar. Translated verbatim according to what we know. Kitab means the book, the record. So Imam Muqatil in his tafsir, he says, Inna a'mal al-fujar. The deeds of the fujar, that is, so kalla inna a'mal al-fujar, if you were to understand it in this way, that's what it's meaning. So kitab here is in the meaning of deeds. Verily the deeds of the fujar will be in the sijjeen. We'll come to the Sijjeen shortly. وروى ناس عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال إن أرواح الفجار وأعمالهم لفي سجين. In another group of people narrate from Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, who said that the souls of the fujar, the evil transgressors, and their deeds will be in Sijjeen. Once again, like I say, we have a general idea of what Sijjeen is, but you'll come to hear other opinions of what Sijjeen is as well. وروى ابن نجيح عن مجاهد قال سجين صخرة تحت الأرض السابعة تقلب فيجعل كتاب الفجار تحتها. Imam Ibn Najih narrates from Imam Mujahid, the famous Mufassir, who said that Sijjeen is a rock which is under the seventh earth. Now, I touched upon it slightly in the past when I spoke about the narration of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. Now, the narration of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, you will find it on, if you go to deoban.org, with the website deoban.org, you can search there a short article written by Maulana Abdul Hayy Laknawi rahimahullah regarding people who reject the athar of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu. Words, the part of the name is for those who reject the athar of Ibn Abbas. If you search the athar of Ibn Abbas, you should come across it on there. So it's a lengthy narration which speaks about 7 heavens or 7 skies and 7 earths. So, you know, lengthy thing too much to go into right now, but anyway, so it's speaking about this 7th earth, and this rock, this rock will be tuqlab, it will be overturned, فَيُجْعَلُ كِتَابُ الْفُجَّارِ تَحْتَهَا, and the record of the fujjar will now be put under this rock. What record, what we'll see in a moment. ونحوه عن ابن عباس وقتادة وسعيد بن جبير ومقاتل وكعب قال كعب تحتها أرواح الكفار تحت خد إبليس. So the same as this what has been mentioned previously from Imam Mujahid is reported also from Abdullah ibn Abbas, from Imam Qatada, Imam Sa'id ibn Jubair, Imam Muqatil, and Imam Ka'b. All of them also held the same opinion. Imam Ka'b went on further to say that تحتها, under this rock, this rock known as Sijjeen. Like I say, there are other opinions on what Sijjeen is, but just follow along for now. So under this rock named Sijjeen, the souls of the kuffar will be placed. And tahta khaddi iblis, under the cheek of Iblis. Now khad means cheek, but it also means like a valley, a furrow. So, you know, at the lowest point of the 7th earth, in a valley known as the valley of Iblis, in there under a rock, that's where the souls, the record, the deeds of the kuffar will be put. That's what you can summarize from these opinions which have been mentioned here. وعن كعب أيضا قال سجين صخرة سوداء تحت الأرض السابعة مكتوب فيها اسم كل شيطان تلقى أنفس الكفار عندها. Imam Ka'b also mentions that Sijjeen is a black rock which is under the 7th earth. It is written on this rock the name of every shaitan, and the souls of the kuffar will be cast there as well. وقال سعيد بن جبير سجين تحت خد إبليس. Imam Sa'id ibn Jubair, he said that Sijjeen is under the valley of Iblis. You could say it's under the cheek of Iblis, but we're using it here in the more common understanding, so it's under the valley of Iblis. يحيى ابن سلام حجر أسود تحت الأرض يكتب فيها أرواح الكفار. A similar thing, Imam Yahya ibn Salam, he says that it is a black stone under the earth, whereon, at least I should say, the arwah of the kuffar, the souls of the kuffar will be written. In other words, the names of the kuffar are written on this black stone under the earth. وقال عطاء الخراساني هي الأرض السابعة السفلى وفيها إبليس وذريته. Imam Ata al-Khurasani, he said that Sijjeen is the lowest part of the 7th earth, and in that earth is where Iblis and his progeny, meaning the minions of Shaitan, Iblis and his minions are in that same place as well. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال إن الكافر يحضره الموت وتحضره رسل الله Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he says that the kuffar, the kafir, يحضره الموت, death comes to him. وتحضره رسول الله, and the messengers of Allah, meaning the angels, come now to him. فلا يستطيعون لبغض الله وبغضهم إياه أن يؤخروه ولا يعجلوه حتى تجيء ساعته. That the malaika, because of the wrath of Allah upon the kafir, and the hatred that the malaika now have for the kafir as well, for the fact that Allah had created him and he had disbelieved in Allah, he had rejected Allah, he had rejected everything that Allah had sent, he did not accept the malaika that was the anbiya that was sent to him, or everything of the sort. So these like the maghdubi alayhim, the wrath of Allah is upon them, and the malaika, because when Allah loves someone, the malaika loves them, and when Allah has cursed someone, he is cursed by the malaika, and when someone is hated by Allah, then the malaika hate him too. So the wrath of Allah is upon him, and the malaika hate him as well. So, but they are not capable of, the malaika don't have the capability of delaying your death or bringing it closer. So they wait, think of it this way. You have a case where a criminal was set free because, in the modern kafir court here, DNA and things that they accept in the court. So the DNA sample got damaged. As a result, there wasn't sufficient evidence to put him away. As a result, the court has no option but to set him free because there is now no proof. So they let him go. So now what happens is, he's guilty. The whole world knows he's guilty, but you don't have proof to put him away. So now what happens is you wait. It's like you keep an eye on him because he's going to do something and I'm going to get him. We hope that we're going to get him because being a criminal, he's going to go back to his criminal ways. But yeah, the malaika know that your time is going to come. So they're waiting for him. فَإِذَا جَاءَتْ سَاعَتُهُ قَبَضُوا نَفْسَهُ. When his time, the second his time comes, the malaika, they قَبَضُوا نَفْسَهُ. They seize his soul. وَرَفَعُوهُ إِلَى مَلَائِكَةِ الْعَذَابِ. They take his soul and they pass it over to the angels of punishment. فَأَرَوْهُ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ أَن يُرُوهُ مِنَ الشَّرِّ. And these malaika now show him whatever Allah wishes that they must show him of evil. What is evil over here? The punishment that is awaiting him. Look at this here, this fire, this blazing thing, this is Jahannam. This is what is waiting for you. You aren't even coming here yet. You're still going to go to the grave and be punished over there. But this is still waiting in store for you. Whatever else Allah wishes to show him, whatever your crime may have been and what you're going to be undergoing, but it's like you get forthcoming attractions. So ثم هبطوا به إلى الأرض السابعة. So now he's taken to the seventh earth, وهي سجين, and the seventh earth is Sijjeen. وهي آخر سلطان إبليس فأثبتوا فيها كتابه. And this Sijjeen is like the last vestige place of Iblis. It's like his last stronghold, so to speak. It's like the den of Iblis, in other words. And the record of this kafir is now put in this Sijjeen. That's one additional opinion. وعن كعب الأحبار في هذه الآية قال إن روح الفاجر إذا قبضت يصعد بها إلى السماء. Imam Ka'b al-Ahbar, same one we were speaking about Imam Ka'b previously, commenting on this ayah, he said, Inna ruh al-fajr, verily the soul of the fajr, the transgressor. Now the transgressor here, fasiq and fajr at times, especially when it's used in the Quran, it's often used as a synonym for a kafir. So you have a Muslim who's a fasiq, a Muslim who's a fajr. That's a technical term which is used in that context, but the word itself is also used synonymously with kafir. So here it's referring to the soul of the kafir. When his soul is taken, يُصْعَدُ بِهَا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, his soul is taken to the sky. فَتَأْبَى السَّمَاءُ أَن تَقْبَلَهَا, but the sky refuses to accept it. In other words, as the malaika go up and up and up through the skies, but the doors of the sky is closed, and the it's not the sky who refuses, it's the malaika by the dome of the sky who's like, this is a ruh of a kafir, he cannot come here, get him out. So فتأبى السماء أن تقبلها, the sky refuses to accept him. ثم يهبط بها إلى الأرض, now the malaika come to the earth. فتأبى الأرض أن تقبلها, and the earth refuses. How can this evil kafir come now and rest here? Not at all. The earth don't want him. فتدخل في سبع أرضين, then the malaika take this soul down to the seventh earth. حتى ينتهى بها إلى سجين, until the malaika reach the place known as Sijjeen, وهو خد إبليس, and it is the valley of Iblis. فيخرج لها من سجين من تحت خد إبليس رق. And then in the valley of Iblis, there, right in the bottom pit, a scroll, a parchment scroll, a scroll is taken out. فيرقم فيوضع تحت خد إبليس, and the kafir's name is now written in that register. In other words, this is your abode. You're not going to any good place. This is where you go. So فيوضع, and then this record of his name being there is put back under the valley of Iblis. وقال الحسن سجين في الأرض السابعة. Imam Hassan, he said that Sijjeen is in the seventh earth. وقيل هو ضرب مثل وإشارة إلى أن الله تعالى يرد أعمالهم التي ظنوا أنها تنفعهم. Another, it's been said that it is not meant in that context, but it's used figuratively, that Allah is showing it that Inna kitab al-fujari la fi sijjeen. It's a figurative way of saying that these deeds that they thought was going to benefit them, Allah is telling them that Allah is rejecting it all. It's a figurative translation here. قال مجاهد المعنى عملهم في الأرض السابعة لا يصعد منها شيء. Imam Mujahid said the meaning is that their deeds are in the seventh earth and nothing, not one iota of it rises. In other words, those deeds cannot rise up to Allah to be accepted. All of it is rejected. وقيل سجين صخرة في الأرض السابعة. We touched upon this previously. Another opinion said that Sijjeen is a rock in the seventh earth. وروى أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سجين جب في جهنم وهو مفتوح. وقال في الفلق إنه جب مغطى. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he reports from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said that Sijjeen is a well in Jahannam which is open, an open well in Jahannam. وقال في الفلق, and it's also been said here as well, إنه جب مغطى, it is a well which is covered. وقال أنس هي دركة في الأرض السفلى. وقال أنس قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سجين أسفل سبع أرضين. Anas radiallahu anhu, he said that the Sijjeen is the lowest point of the lowest earth. And Hazrat Anas reports from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said that Sijjeen is the lowest point of the seventh earth. In other words, literally 6 or half a dozen, saying the same thing. It's the lowest of the lowest points. وقال عكرمة سجين خسار وضلال كقولهم لمن سقط قدره قد زلق بالحضيض. Imam Ikrima, he said that Sijjeen means loss and like destruction and misguidance and things of this sort. In other words, woe to such a person. He says it is like the Arabic term which is used for the one liman saqata qadruhu, for that person whose rank and position has fallen. In other words, you fell in the eyes of people. The Arabic term is qad zalaqa bil hadid, meaning that he has slipped to the bottom. Okay, if you're playing Ludo over there and you have managed and you happen to fall onto a snake, you slip all the way to where the bottom of the snake goes. But the point here is you slip right down to the bottom. So the Arabic term is used like that. So he's saying that Sijjeen here, Kitab al-Fujari la fi Sijjeen, is used in this context to say that they have fallen to the lowest point, which is due to the kufr that they had. Unfortunately, our time is already running very short, so we can't exactly go much further, but maybe we can do 2 more paragraphs and stop on that point inshallah. He says وقال أبو عبيدة والأخفش والزجاج لفي سجين لفي حبس وضيق شديد فعيل من السجن كما يقال في السيق وشريب. قال ابن مقبل ورفقة يضربون البيض ضاحية ضربا تواصت به الأبطال سجينا. Okay, he says Imam Abu Ubaidah, Imam Akhfash, and Imam Zajjaj, they said لفي سجين means لفي حبس وضيق شديد. You're translating Sijjeen as being, it's all quite similar. When we're done with all the tafasir, you'll see it all comes down to a central point. But Sijjeen, I'll add it here in because we probably won't touch it tonight. But Sijjeen is one of the names of Jahannam. It's a place in Jahannam itself. So that's one. Sijjeen can be also a rock. Sijjeen can be the lowest point at the seventh earth. You know, many different things like this here. But it all comes down to what? لَفِي حَبْسٍ وَضِيقٍ شَدِيد. The souls or the record of the kuffar will be fi Sijjeen, which is in, you know, habs means like imprisoned. Wadiqin shadid means severe constraints, in a severe constrained environment. That's where they will be. In other words, you will be in a great deal of difficulty and punishment. That's what's actually being said here. That is what is being said, la fi Sijjeen. So he explained linguistically, fi'il, Sijjeen is on this pattern, is what is like Sijjeen, but on the pattern of fi'il, thus Sijjeen. Sijjeen means a jail, a prison, as you know. So he said, like how you say about a fasiq, fisiq, sharib, shirib, and then he goes on to a poem over there. والمعنى كتابهم في حبس جعل ذلك دليلا على خساسة منزلتهم أو لأنه يحل من الإعراض عنه والإبعاد له محل الزجر والهوان. Okay, now so he says the meaning here is that the record is placed in a prison, and that has been made as a as a proof. When you're, in other words, if your name is written in the register of people who are to go to Jahannam, that is dalilun ala khasasati manzilatihim. It is the proof of the low level, the low position that you will be. It's a, once again to use that term, the forthcoming attraction that you don't want, that your name is on that scroll. When you're looking, where is my name? And it is said, your name is on that scroll, which is found in Jahannam. In other words, you are a Jahannami, in simple terms. So, أو لأنه يحل من الإعراض عنه والإبعاد له محل الزجر والهوان. Or what it means is that you are far, in other words, you are far from Allah on account, we call it again, it's a synonym as it is, your evil deeds has taken you far away from Allah, and this is a, you know, it's like a rebuke upon you that this is where you will be going on account of the fact that you are disbelieving in Allah and rejecting everything that Allah has sent to you. Okay, I think yeah, okay, we got 3 minutes. We can at least do till here, then another tafsir, another ayah will carry on from there. So let's carry on quickly. وقيل أصله سجيل فأبدلت اللام نونا وقد تقدم ذلك. He says it's also been said that the original word was sijil, but the lam had been changed to a noon, and he said he touched upon it previously, so we move on. وقال زيد بن أسلم سجين الأرض السافلة وسجيل السماء الدنيا. So Imam Zayd ibn Aslam, he said Sijjeen is the lowest earth and Sijil is the sky of this world. So the sky that we see above our heads, that is known as Sijil. And Sijil with a lam, and when you go right down to the seventh earth, that is Sijjeen over there. So that's the opinion of Imam Zayd ibn Aslam. Imam al-Qushayri قال القشيري سجين موضع في السافلين يدفن فيها كتاب هؤلاء فلا يظهر بل يكون في ذلك الموضع كالمسجون وهذا دليل على خبث أعمالهم وتحقير الله إياها ولهذا قال في كتاب الأبرار يشهده المقربون. So he says, Imam al-Qushayri said that Sijjeen is موضع في السافلين, a place in the lowest of the low. يدفن فيه the Kitabu Haula, the book, the record of these people will be buried in that lowest of the low place. فلا يظهر, so it will not be seen at all. بل يكون في ذلك الموضع كالمسجون, rather their record will be like locked up. You know, when you pack away old things, let's put it this way, old files and stuff that you have, it's never going to see the light of day again. You pack it up in boxes, you seal it up somewhere in a place. These ones, think of it times a million. It's taken lowest of the low places and buried there too. So it never sees the light of day. The record itself is imprisoned. So if your record is imprisoned, then what still is your position? So he says, وَهَذَا دَلِيلٌ, and this itself is a proof عَلَى خُبْثِ أَعْمَالِهِمْ, of the evil, filthy deeds that they used to do. وَتَحْقِيرِ اللَّهِ إِيَّاهَا, and how Allah despises the acts that they had done, like I say, of kufr and everything of the sort. وَلِهَذَا, and that's why when it comes on the flip side of the coin, في كتاب الأبرار, as we'll do later on in the surah, when it comes to the record of the pious people, Allah says, يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ, the muqarrabun bear witness to it. So that one is open, it's seen, it's visible. But this one here is imprisoned and buried and hidden away at the lowest point. In other words,